Alright, this is it. The last season of The Office, and I'm sad to see it end. I've really enjoyed marathoning this show for the past couple of months. It's been a real blast, especially now that, I got beyond the halfway point and I actually got most of the humor this time, and I really did bond with this cast. I'm having a tough time letting them go, but I've got this whole show on DVD, so I can go back and view it all anytime I feel like it, so it's not that bad of a loss, right? So, overall impressions of this season, I enjoyed it, but it does have some, bumps with it, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't totally feel like, there was too much, center focus to this season, unlike last season. Although I will admit it did feel more positive, minus Jim and Pam's story arc, with the way that they resolved everything. That was pretty good. Yeah, because I really did get nervous for them for a little bit, and I'm like, oh come on, you spent the first half of the show, having them go through all the steps to finally cement themselves together and commit to it, and then you're going to have them unravel halfway through the last season, but thankfully they, decided to put everything behind them, and then Jim finally revealed the letter, which I had totally forgotten about, and that was just a great way that they did that, Open Your Eyes song playing in the background. I really like that song, even though I don't know too much of Snow Patrol's, songs. From what I've heard, they do seem to be pretty good at, getting emotional, causing things under the right circumstances, yeah. So how did I feel about other characters on story arcs besides Jim and Pam? I was kind of disappointed to see that Ryan and Kelly weren't really included in this season, but there really wasn't that much left that they could have done other than using them as gimmicks, kind of like Toby and a Gabe were being used as, so in a way it does make sense. And then the way that they actually did really end the story arc, hilarious, and I love how that also gave Nellie the added bonus of concluding something that she wanted, because this season she definitely mellowed down thanks to the work that Dwight, Andy, and Pam, all gave her and made her, a lot more likable and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe I was being hard on her, I really don't know, but I've moved on from that. Then the two guys, Pete and, I forget the other guy's name, one with the glasses. Sorry, his name is mentioned all season long and I've totally forgotten it, right, but they were fairly enjoyable. They worked with the cast pretty well, but wasn't necessarily wowed by them, especially since they ended up being used for stuff that was close to gimmicks. But I can forgive that a lot more than how they used Gabe in here. Just get rid of that guy. Come on, he added nothing really, and it was a little bit annoying at first. When Erin, started having conflicting thoughts of whether she wants to go with Andy or another guy, but as this season indicated, Andy just has a tough time figuring out exactly, what he wants, even though it does seem like he managed to mostly settle down towards the end of it, which was nice, although it does make Season 8 a little more annoying in my mind, because after seeing him go through all the hardships from that season and then supporting him for most of that and then seeing what happened to him here, yeah, Andy, man, brought up a real-life example that was somewhat similar to that. I'm stretching the parallels, so don't get all mushy on me, but yeah. And that did also appear to leave Erin in, kind of a bad place, because I got the feeling that her and Pete's relationship wasn't really going to, matter that much, but then having her meet her birth parents, doing that Q&A in the finale, that fixed it up right there, in my opinion, right? And then Dwight, well, as I've been hitting that for the past couple of seasons, his playing off, Jim and Andy finally came to fruition, and he managed to bury the hatchet with those two. He actually finally got appointed, regional manager for once, but the transition was a lot less extreme than in previous times because previously Jim was like, the last thing we need is Dwight to be in charge, but now he actually wanted Dwight to be in charge. Yeah. And I also like how they brought back, David Wallace enough times to show that he actually knows what he's doing as boss of that corporation, but you got the idea that even though he was in charge, it wasn't overbearing like Robert California. So I really liked what they were doing for most of those characters. Now, it did get a little bit repetitive because the bits about Pam and Jim, being separated in Philly, that kind of got to me. Daryl, he wasn't bad, but like a couple of things, I don't totally remember what they were now, just didn't totally feel right with me. And then like how he ultimately decided to leave, I felt like, they kind of rushed it, even though he's talking to everyone enough that it's not completely crazy by any stretch of the imagination. And as I've kind of alluded to before, this is just a documentary crew. They don't need to show us, exactly everything. And writers still need to, surprise viewers with a couple of things. Yeah. The first part of the season didn't totally flow that well due to lack of a central focus, but later on, they managed to fix that, in my opinion. Angela, well, she finally decided to do what she wanted, break out of her shell, finally get together with Dwight. It was kind of sudden, but when they both suddenly realized, they wanted to be with each other, I felt for them. It was like, about time. And then what they did that finale, oh yeah, and also the gradual revealing of the actual documentary crew. It's a little silly, to kind of break the rule of actually having the documentary crew be characters, right at the end, because that somewhat defeats the purpose, especially since it seems like they in the universe want the actual episodes that we're seeing to be the documentary, but they did add nice touches, to the storylines helping Pam and Jim get through the little bits, gives the excuse for the finale, so, and then getting back to what I was saying about the actual finale itself, pretty good job of, wrapping just about everything, over 90% of the story arcs, even though it was a little bit hasty for a couple of them. And bringing like Steve Carell, even though he didn't do that much, I got a little teary-eyed, when I saw that. And it didn't even hurt his character at all. He revealed enough that, he's settled down and is so proud of everyone, and everyone's improved enough over the show that, they were able to respond back to him, finally, And like, sure, like Stanley, Toby, Ryan, will probably have their, bits about him, but, he didn't really talk to them in the finale, and I think that they can put that behind him and, forgive him for all the bad stuff. And it is nice to have the last shot of the documentary technically have Michael, in it, when he's hanging up Pam's watercolor portrait as a reminder of how it got there and what used to be. Yeah. And it's just so interesting seeing the contrast between Season 1 Pam versus Season 9 and Pam, where she looks so much more lively. Yeah. That was just a great way to end it. It did feel a little bit sudden, for Jim and Pam to suddenly up and leave, but it did kind of make sense because Michael left, Stanley left, Dwight has indicated that, he wants to stay there, and Andy, got booted, even though he booted himself more like, so. And in the first couple of episodes, Jim stated that, he didn't want to be doing that forever, so in a way I should have seen it coming, but it did feel a little sudden there, yeah. So sorry to end this review on a slightly down note, but yeah, this was a good way to end it. It did have its issues, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. And it's a bit of a bummer that now I don't have any more of The Office to watch, but I've got more than enough TV shows to keep me occupied, because after I tackle a couple of reality seasons that I've been meaning to get off the bucket list, I gotta re-watch a couple of my other TV shows, so I'm good.